Chosen one, I need you to stop everything and focus completely on what I am about to tell you, because something happened exactly 72 hours ago that you didn't even realize was happening. You were so exhausted, so overwhelmed, so depleted that you didn't have the mental capacity to recognize it as a test. But it was. It was the final evaluation, the last exam, the ultimate assessment that determines whether a soul is ready to carry real spiritual authority or whether they need to go back and repeat the preparation phase. And here is what you need to know. You passed. Not barely passed. Not passed by a narrow margin. You passed with such distinction, with such undeniable demonstration of transformed character, that the spiritual realm had to immediately convene what ancient texts call the Council of Elevation. And tonight, at exactly 3:33 in the morning, something is going to happen in dimensions you cannot see with physical eyes, but your soul will absolutely feel. Heaven is going to officially commission you, not symbolically, not metaphorically, actually, literally in the unseen realms where spiritual authority is granted. You are going to receive clearance to operate at a level you have been training for your entire life without knowing it. Now, before you think this is going to make your life suddenly easy, before you imagine that promotion means everything becomes smooth, let me stop you right there. What is about to happen tonight is not a reward for good behavior. It is a recognition that you can finally be trusted with greater responsibility, and greater responsibility always comes with greater challenge. But here is the difference. After tonight, you will face those challenges with access to spiritual resources you didn't have before. Wisdom that downloads instantly. Discernment that operates automatically. Peace that remains unshakable. Authority that doesn't need to announce itself. That is what happens when heaven commissions someone. Not comfort, but capacity. Not ease, but empowerment. Not rest, but readiness. Let me tell you what that test was 3 days ago, because you need to understand what you actually passed between roughly 4 in the afternoon and 8 at night. Something happened that pushed you past your breaking point. Maybe it was a conversation that went completely wrong. Maybe it was a situation that triggered every old wound you thought you had healed. Maybe it was a moment of such profound loneliness that you couldn't even cry anymore. You just sat there in numb silence. Maybe it was a betrayal so unexpected that your mind couldn't process it. Maybe it was exhaustion so deep that you literally didn't have energy to think, only to react from pure instinct. Whatever it was for you specifically, it took you to a place where you were operating on autopilot, where you were too tired to perform, too broken to pretend, too depleted to calculate the right response. You were just being without the energy to be anything other than what you truly are at your core. And in that moment, when no one was watching, when no one would have known if you chose differently, when you had every justification in the world to respond with bitterness, with revenge, with selfishness, with cruelty, with compromise, you didn't. Your automatic response, the one that came from your deepest essence when you were too exhausted to control it, was integrity. Maybe someone attacked you verbally and your instinct wasn't to attack back, but to stay silent. Maybe you had access to information that could have benefited you at someone else's expense and you simply couldn't use it. Maybe you were given an opportunity to expose someone who hurt you and something in you said no. Maybe you faced a choice between your comfort and someone else's well-being, and without even thinking about it, you chose their well-being. Maybe you were alone with temptation and no one would have ever known and you walked away anyway. The specific situation doesn't matter. What matters is this: your goodness is no longer something you do. It is something you are. Your integrity is no longer a conscious choice you make when you have energy. It is your default setting, your automatic operating system. And that chosen one, that is what heaven was waiting to see. Because here is the truth. They don't teach you in religious settings. The spiritual realm doesn't care about your theology. It doesn't care how many scriptures you memorized. It doesn't care how many spiritual books you read or how many hours you spent in prayer or meditation. What it cares about is this one question. Who are you when you don't have the energy to be anyone other than who you truly are? Who are you when the masks fall off because you are too tired to hold them up? Who are you when no one is watching and no one will ever know what you chose? That is the only question that matters, because that is the only thing that reveals whether your transformation is real or performed. And 3 days ago, in that moment of complete exhaustion, you answered that question. And the answer was so clear, so undeniable, so confirmed, that the observation deck in the spiritual realm, the place where assigned angels monitor human development, erupted. Not in applause, because that is a human thing, but in what can only be described as recognition. The kind of recognition that happens when someone finally becomes who they were always meant to be. When potential becomes reality, when preparation becomes readiness, when training becomes mastery. Now, let me explain what is going to happen at 3:33 this morning and why that specific time matters. First, understand that time in the spiritual realm doesn't work the same way it works in physical reality. But there are certain moments where the veil between dimensions becomes thinner, where spiritual activity can penetrate physical reality more easily, where downloads can happen with less interference. And 3:33 in the morning is one of those moments. Here is why. Between 3 and 4 a.m., human consciousness is at its lowest activity level. Most people are in their deepest sleep. The collective mental chatter that normally fills the spiritual atmosphere is quieted. And in that quietness, in that stillness, the spiritual realm can work with precision. But 333 specifically carries additional significance in sacred mathematics, which is not superstition, but pattern recognition across all wisdom traditions. The number 3 represents divine completeness. Father, Son, Spirit, birth, life, death, beginning, middle, end, past, present, future, mind, body, soul. It is the number of wholeness. And when you see it tripled 333, it is a signal of completion upon completion upon completion, a cycle ending, a phase graduating, a level being cleared. That is why throughout history, major spiritual transitions often involve some variation of the number 3. Jesus was in the tomb 3 days. Jonah was in the whale 3 days. The Israelites journeyed 3 days before Passover. It is a pattern. And tonight, at 3:33, your pattern completes. Here is what is actually going to happen. Your soul, while your conscious mind is asleep, is going to be brought before what ancient texts call the court of heaven. Not physically. Your body will still be in your bed, but dimensionally, spiritually, your soul is going to stand in a space where spiritual authority is granted, and 3 specific authorizations are going to be given to you. These aren't permissions you can use any way you want. These are spiritual capacities that activate based on your character, which is why you had to pass the test first. The universe doesn't give weapons to people who might misuse them. It only gives power to those who have proven they will not abuse it. Authorization 1. Accelerated wisdom. This is the ability to understand situations, people, and circumstances at a level that bypasses intellectual analysis. You are going to start knowing things you have no logical reason to know. You are going to sense what is happening beneath the surface of conversations. You are going to feel when something is off before you can explain why. You are going to understand people's true motives without them telling you. This isn't psychic ability. This is discernment elevated to a level where your spirit reads spiritual activity the way your eyes read physical activity. And it is going to feel so natural that you will not even realize it is supernatural. You will just know things. And later, when you are proven right, you will wonder how you knew. That is how you will recognize this authorization is active. Authorization 2. Unshakable peace. This is not happiness. Happiness depends on circumstances. This is peace that exists regardless of circumstances. You are going to walk through storms and feel calm. You are going to face attacks and feel steady. You are going to encounter chaos and feel centered. Not because nothing affects you, but because you are rooted in something deeper than circumstances. People are going to notice it. They are going to ask you how you stay so calm. And you are not going to have an explanation that satisfies them, because the peace you carry doesn't come from any technique or practice you can teach. It comes from who you have become. It comes from having passed through so much fire that you are no longer afraid of heat. Authorization 3. Spiritual authority. This is the hardest one to explain, because it is not about controlling anyone or anything. It is about your presence carrying weight. When you speak, people listen. When you are silent, people respect it. When you set a boundary, it holds. When you make a decision, things align. Not because you are forcing anything, but because you have become someone who can be trusted with that level of influence. The universe tests people before giving them this authorization, because it is dangerous in the wrong hands. But in the right hands, in hands that have been purified through suffering and proven through testing, this authorization becomes a tool for blessing, not control, for liberation, not manipulation, for elevation, not domination. These 3 authorizations, they don't come with an instruction manual. They don't come with a user guide. They simply activate. And you will know they are active because of 3 specific signs you are going to experience starting tomorrow morning. Sign 1. Mental clarity that feels almost eerie. You are going to wake up and your mind is going to feel sharper than it has felt in years, maybe ever. The fog that has been clouding your thoughts, the confusion that has been muddying your decisions, the overwhelm that has been making everything feel complicated. It is going to be gone, not reduced, gone. And in its place is going to be a clarity so profound that you will be able to see through situations instantly. Problems that used to take you weeks to process, you are going to understand in minutes. Decisions that used to paralyze you, you are going to make with confidence. Not because you suddenly have all the answers, but because you can suddenly see what matters and what doesn't. And what matters becomes obvious. If you are watching this and something in you is recognizing that a shift happened 3 days ago, even though you could tame what it was, do me a favor. Type 777 in the comments. Not for luck, not for superstition, but as a spiritual marker. Because when chosen ones recognize each other and witness each other's transitions, it creates a frequency amplification in the spiritual realm. Your 777 is in T just for you. It is for everyone else who needs confirmation that they are not crazy, that something really did shift, that their sense of change is accurate. Sign 2. Emotional stability that surprises you. You are going to notice that things that used to trigger, you don't anymore. People who used to drain you cannot reach you the same way. Situations that used to overwhelm you feel manageable. And it is not because you are suppressing emotions. It is not because you are becoming numb. It is because your emotional center has been recalibrated. You have been through so much that you developed emotional muscle most people never build. You can feel deeply without being controlled by those feelings. You can care without being consumed. You can love without losing yourself. And this stability, people are going to notice it. They are going to test it. Actually, they are going to unconsciously try to get the old reaction out of you. And when you don't give it to them, when you respond with calm, where you used to respond with chaos, they are going to be confused. Some will respect it. Others will be threatened by it. That is how you will know who belongs in your next chapter and who doesn't. Sign 3 synchronicities that are too perfect to be random. Tomorrow, maybe the day after, you are going to start noticing that life is coordinating in your favor in ways that defy explanation. You are going to need something, and it is going to appear. You are going to think about someone, and they are going to reach out. You are going to have a question, and the answer is going to show up in the most unexpected way. You are going to face an obstacle, and the exact resource you need is going to present itself. This isn't manifestation. This isn't law of attraction. This is what happens when you complete a spiritual level, and the universe starts orchestrating reality around you differently, because now you can be trusted with that level of support. Before, when your character was still being tested, the universe couldn't give you too much too easily because you weren't ready to steward it properly. But now you have proven you will not abuse blessing. You will not worship provision. You will not take advantage of favor, so the floodgates can open without destroying you. Now I need to warn you about something that can sabotage everything you just earned. And it is subtle. It is sneaky. It creeps in so quietly that most people don't notice it until it has already destroyed them. Spiritual pride. When you wake up tomorrow and you feel that mental clarity, when you notice that emotional stability, when you experience those perfect synchronicities, there is going to be a temptation, a whisper, a thought. And it is going to sound something like this: I finally made it. I am better than those people who are still struggling. I am special. I am chosen. I am above the mess that regular people deal with. And if you feed that thought, if you nurture that pride, if you let it take root in your heart, you are going to lose everything you just received. Not immediately, but gradually. That mental clarity is going to fog. That emotional stability is going to crack. Those synchronicities are going to stop, because the universe only trusts power to those who remain humble. The moment you start using your elevation to look down on others is the moment you begin your descent. So here is what you do when that thought comes, and it will come. You remember 3 years ago when you were the one struggling. You remember 5 years ago when you were the one lost. You remember that season when you were broken and desperate and had no idea how you were going to make it through. You remember every person who showed you grace when you didn't deserve it. Every person who had patience with you when you were difficult. Every person who believed in you when you had no reason to believe in yourself. And you let that memory keep you humble, not falsely humble. Where you pretend you are not powerful, but genuinely humble, where you know your power came at a cost. And that cost creates compassion, not contempt for others who are still paying it. The crown you receive tonight is not a trophy. It is a tool. It is not recognition that you are better than everyone else. It is recognition that you can be trusted with more responsibility. And responsibility always requires humility. The moment you think your crown makes you superior is the moment you prove you weren't ready for it. So wear it with gratitude. Wear it with awareness. Wear it with the understanding that to whom much is given, much is required. Your elevation is not for your ego. Your elevation is for your assignment. And your assignment is to be a light in dark places, a calm in chaotic spaces, a steady presence when everything around is shaking. Now, let me tell you who can take away your crown after you receive it tonight. It is not God. God doesn't give and take back based on moods or mistakes. It is not the devil. The devil has no authority over what heaven grants. It is not circumstances. External situations cannot remove internal authority. The only person who can take away your crown is you. And you can only do it one way: by deliberately, consciously, knowingly choosing to compromise your integrity for personal gain after you know better. Not by accident. Not by momentary weakness. Not by falling short of perfection. But by calculated betrayal of your own character. By choosing to use your spiritual authority to manipulate others. By choosing to use your discernment to control people. By choosing to use your peace as a weapon to make others feel inadequate. When you misuse the gifts you have been given, when you weaponize your blessings, when you turn tools meant for building into weapons meant for destroying, that is when you lose your crown, not as punishment, but as protection. Because a corrupted person with spiritual authority is more dangerous than a person with no authority at all. That is why the test was so rigorous. That is why you had to pass the level 3 evaluation, the one where your character is tested when you are too exhausted to perform it. The universe needed to know that even at your worst, even at your weakest, even at your most vulnerable, your default setting is still integrity. And you proved it 3 days ago. So tonight, when you receive these authorizations, heaven knows they are safe with you. Heaven knows you will not abuse them. Heaven knows that even when you are tired, broken, overwhelmed, your automatic response will still be character. But here is what you need to understand about maintaining your crown once you receive it. It is not about being perfect. You are still going to make mistakes. You are still going to have bad days. You are still going to fall short sometimes. That is human. What matters is your trajectory. Are you moving toward more integrity or less? More humility or more pride? More service or more selfishness? As long as your trajectory is upward, as long as you are committed to growth, as long as you are willing to acknowledge when you fall short and correct course, your crown remains secure. It is not fragile. It doesn't shatter at the first mistake, but it does respond to deliberate, sustained betrayal of character. So protect it not with perfection, but with commitment, not with flawlessness, but with faithfulness. Now, let me reveal the deeper reason why you specifically are being commissioned at this exact moment in history. It is not random. It is not just because you completed your personal journey. It is because humanity is entering a season of unprecedented upheaval, and the world needs people who can remain stable while everything shakes. The old systems are collapsing. The institutions people trusted are being exposed. The authorities people relied on are being questioned. And in the middle of that chaos, people are going to be desperately searching for something solid to hold on to. Not information, not theories, not promises, but living proof that it is possible to maintain integrity when everything around you is compromising. Living proof that it is possible to stay peaceful when everything around you is panicking. Living proof that it is possible to love when everything around you is hating. You are that proof. Not because you have all the answers, not because you never struggle, not because you are perfect, but because your life demonstrates that transformation is real, that character can be forged, that hope can survive hell. And when people see that in you, when they encounter your peace in their chaos, when they feel your stability in their storm, they are going to want to know your secret. And your secret isn't something you can explain with words. Your secret is something you became through fire. And the only way to teach it is to be it. That is your assignment as a commissioned, chosen one. Not to save everyone, not to fix everything, not to have answers for all questions, but to be a living testimony that it is possible to go through darkness and come out light. That is enough. That is more than enough. So tonight at 3:33, when your soul stands before the court of heaven, when those 3 authorizations are granted, receive them with open hands and humble heart. Tomorrow, when you wake up and feel the shift, when you notice the clarity and the peace and the synchronicities, remember they are tools, not trophies. Use them to bless. Use them to build. Use them to love. And watch how the universe responds to someone who carries power but wields it with humility. That is when miracles become normal. That is when provision becomes consistent. That is when doors open that you didn't even know existed. Your test is over. Your crown is ready. Your commission begins tonight. Walk in it with grace. Serve with it in power. Shine with it in darkness, because that is what chosen ones do. Not because they are better than everyone else, but because they are reliable. When most people break, you are that reliable person. And tonight, heaven makes it official. If you recognize that something shifted in you 3 days ago, if you sense that a test was passed even though you didn't know you were being tested, type 777 in the comments right now. That number is not magic. It is a marker, a spiritual signpost, a confirmation between you and heaven that you heard this message at exactly the right time. And when other chosen ones see your 777, it confirms their experience too. That is how we recognize each other. Not by what we say, but by what we survived and who we became because of it. And if this message resonated so deeply that you want to make sure you don't miss what comes next, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Because what is about to unfold in your life as a newly commissioned chosen one is going to require guidance, confirmation, and encouragement. And this channel exists for exactly that purpose, to help people like you understand the spiritual dynamics of what you are experiencing so you don't feel crazy and you don't walk alone. One more thing. If, while you were listening, someone came to your mind, someone who you know is going through their own final test, someone who is exhausted and broken and operating on autopilot, share this message with them because they need to know that what they are experiencing isn't random suffering. It is the final exam, and they might be closer to passing than they think. Your share could be the confirmation that helps them endure one more day. And that one more day might be all they need to prove their character and activate their own commissioning. Chosen one. Your loneliness wasn't abandonment, it was assessment. Your exhaustion wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Your breaking wasn't destruction, it was transformation. And tonight at 3:33, heaven confirms what you already proved. You are ready. Welcome to your coronation. But before we finish, I need to tell you about the practical changes you are going to notice in your daily life. Because spiritual commissioning doesn't just affect your inner world. It affects how you move through the physical world. Change 1. People are going to respond to you differently. Some people are going to be drawn to you without understanding why. They are going to seek your advice, want to be around you, feel safe in your presence. These are people whose spirits recognize the authority you now carry. But others are going to be repelled by you also, without understanding why. They're going to feel uncomfortable, avoid you, make excuses not to engage. These are people whose dysfunction cannot coexist with your peace. Both reactions, the attraction and the repulsion, they are confirmation that your frequency changed too. Your tolerance for certain environments is going to disappear. Places you used to tolerate will drain you instantly. Conversations you used to participate in will feel toxic. Your spiritual sensitivity has been turned up, and low-frequency environments will deplete you. So when a place feels wrong, leave. When a conversation feels toxic, exit. You are not being rude. You are being obedient to your discernment. Change 3. Your relationship with time is going to shift. You are going to feel an urgency, not anxiety, but a sense that time is precious. Things that used to occupy hours will feel pointless. Distractions that used to consume you will lose their appeal. Your purpose is activating deeper, and every moment on things that don't align feels like time stolen. Change. 4. Your connection with the divine is going to transform. It is going to stop feeling like something you do and start feeling like something you are. You are going to find yourself in constant communion. The line is always open. The connection is always active. You just have to tune in, and tuning in becomes natural. Change 5. Your finances and resources are going to move differently. Provision is going to show up in unexpected ways. You are going to notice that you always have exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. This is divine favor. The universe provides everything you need, often in ways that bypass normal systems. Now, let me address a critical question. What if I don't feel those signs tomorrow? Does that mean I didn't pass? Here is what you need to understand. The spiritual realm operates on divine timing, not human expectation. The signs might unfold gradually, appear subtly, or hit you all at once. Stay aware so you recognize them when they appear, and sometimes spiritual promotion comes with increased resistance. The enemy attacks immediately to get you to give up what you just received. So if tomorrow is harder, don't interpret that as evidence that nothing changed. Interpret it as evidence that something major changed. Let me also tell you what not to do. Don't announce your commission. Don't post about it on social media. The spiritual realm values secrecy during initial phases of empowerment. Hold this close. Share it only with people who would understand. Let the transformation speak through your life before you speak about it. Also, don't try to force the authorizations to activate. They work naturally when needed, not artificially when forced. Trust that when wisdom is needed, it will be there. When peace is threatened, it will hold. Let it happen organically. And finally, remember this. Being commissioned doesn't mean you never struggle again. What it means is that you now have access to resources that help you handle struggles differently. You still face battles, but with weapons you didn't have before. You still walk through valleys, but with guidance you didn't have before. The difference is not the absence of difficulty. The difference is the presence of empowerment. If this message confirms something you felt but could name, type 777 in the comments as a declaration that you recognize your testing season is complete and your commissioning has begun. Let your 777 witness to others that transformation is real, that tests do end, that promotion does come. And if this message brought clarity, hope, or confirmation, hit that like button. Engagement helps this reach others who are in the middle of their final test, exhausted and broken, needing to know they can endure one more day. Your like could help this message find them at their exact moment of need. Make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. What happens after tonight? You are going to need ongoing guidance and confirmation. This channel exists for that purpose, to help you navigate walking in spiritual authority, so you don't feel crazy and you don't walk alone. Chosen one. Your loneliness wasn't abandonment. It was assessment. Your exhaustion wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Your breaking wasn't destruction. It was transformation. And tonight at 3:33, heaven confirms what you already proved. You are ready. Welcome to your coronation.